Okay, so we've rendered all of layer 1, a texture for on, a texture for off, and now what we're going to do is select all of the elements in layer 1 that we just rendered out. We're going to duplicate those, and that duplicate copy is going to get moved into our workshop. Okay, now it's in the workshop, and we're going to solo it, and we want to view it through our camera. All right, so now everything here needs to get a UV map from this point of view, from this perspective. So if you highlighted everything right now and went and looked at its UV map, it'd be all over the place, all different shapes and sizes and position, whatever. But what we need to do is we need to tell Visual Pinball to map that image we just rendered onto each of these items from a specific point of view. This isn't typical in game engines. This isn't what you would want to do if, all of a sudden we were using Unity to render Visual Pinball, or, DirectX 11 or 12. But because essentially we're doing the same thing that we did in Visual Pinball 8 and Visual Pinball 9, we're just sort of pre-rendering everything to make up for the limitations of the software itself. We're just trying to basically take a photograph and lay it over these images, and thankfully it works with some perspective, so we can see it in VR, and from most angles it works. And building it this way is smarter than having overlapping pieces all over. You wouldn't want to render the whole game in one render this way. So with everything highlighted, we just go to UV, project from view. And then what you'll see over here, pardon me, is everything projected right there. And if we were to open up that image, in fact, let's just do that. If we were to open that image, you would see that the image maps exactly to all those pieces. Now, a couple pieces are missing because those are still curves. So we have to kind of solve for that. And I believe this is missing because, I don't know. I'll figure that out. Why are you missing? It's probably trying to share object or UV data. Yep. So we'll have to fix that. Well, all right. First, let's convert these. Convert to mesh. Where are the other ones? There they are. Convert to mesh. You don't need to keep any of the modifiers here unless there's a solidify modifier, which I think in this case, I wonder if these have one. Nope, those have already all been solidified. So, yeah. This hasn't been solidified, so we'll go ahead and do that. But the bevel, those already served their purpose. Those did their job when we were rendering, and now we want really just the simplest shape possible to project those images onto. So none of this matters. In fact, we already sort of did our materials in Blender instead of doing them in Visual Pinball. So when we bring this in, these are all going to get the same material. So with the exception of those bumper caps or bumper skirts, and those are these three, everything else can all come in as one mesh because nothing on here moves. One additional thing that you have to be aware of is that over a long span on a texture, things don't stay in alignment really well. So they kind of slide, forward or backward a little bit. So you want to put loop cuts in any really long runs if you want things to stay kind of absolute in how they're positioned. So, and that is no joke. Like, that will really seriously mess something up. Like the shadow of the apron all of a sudden will be way forward to where it's supposed to be, and it breaks the illusion. So you don't want it. So don't be afraid to add a bunch of loops here. It's just loops. Can't hurt anything, right? Yay, that geometry. No me gusta. So get rid of all of our duplicate vertices. Kind of clean everything up, and then once again just make sure that all the faces are oriented the right way. Looks awesome. Okay, so with that selected, we can export to meshes, call it layer 1, just like exporting anything. Selection only, scale 10, Y forward, negative Z up, export OBJ. All right. We're going to bring in those images that we did. And then just using one of these ones that we used for the physics, because that was all set up just right. We're going to make a copy, and we're going to call this layer 1, and we're going to import it. And everything's going to fall right in place. In order to keep things, slightly organized, we're going to move this to layer 1, and we're going to assign it, for now, the texture layer 1, although I still have an old layer 1 in here from the previous game, so let's get rid of that. Okay, now there'll be no confusion over that. So what you're going to see here is all of those meshes, I assume looking pretty good over the wrong playfield. But you'll get the idea. Yeah. Look at that. Looking pretty Seawitchy. A few goofy things going on here and there because of how the other meshes are placed in here, but we'll get that sorted out. So when I come back, we'll have that sorted, and we will render out the playfield next.